The campaign's federal case in Georgia was tossed out by Judge Stephen Grimberg. Now, he was actually appointed just last year by President Trump.
Yeah, I thank President Trump for nominating me.
The judge said he was unwilling to block the certification of millions of votes. He said it would breed confusion and potential disenfranchisement. A state court judge in Michigan tossed out claims in a lawsuit that was filed there by two Republican poll challengers. They said several kinds of irregularities allowed invalid ballots to be counted. But Timothy Kenney, the chief judge of Wayne County Circuit Court, said those making the claims did not have a full understanding of the vote counting process. And their interpretation of events, he said, is incorrect and not credible. But the most scathing rejection of a Trump lawsuit came last weekend in Pennsylvania, where a federal judge dismissed the case and said he couldn't find any other example of a campaign seeking to disenfranchise millions of voters. U.S. District Court Judge Matthew Braun said with such a request, he expected sound legal argument and proof of rampant corruption. Instead, he said, this court has been presented with strained legal arguments without merit and speculative accusations. And then he added this. In the United States of America, this cannot justify the disenfranchisement of a single voter, let alone all the voters of its sixth most populated state. A Republican expert on election law says the Trump legal team has simply not delivered on its claims that the election was stolen.
If people at home want to understand what's happening, they shouldn't look at what the president's saying on Twitter or what his allies are saying on television. They should look at what's being said in the courtroom under oath. When the Trump campaign can no longer puff or lie, they've come up with really no proof that would overturn this election result.
The Trump campaign lawyers said last week they'd be filing more cases to demonstrate fraud, but so far those have not materialized.
The truth is Biden and his co-conspirators, i.e. Michigan's executive branch, corrupt politicians, Governor Whitmer, Attorney General Nessel, and Secretary of State Benson definitely stole this election in 2020, and most likely in 2018 with Dominion ballot machines. I would also speculate the Democrats did the same in 2008 and 2012 for Obama's reign of destruction in America.
Lies, conspiracy theories, attacks against local officials. President Trump gave a rambling, misinformation-filled speech in Georgia Saturday night after calling Georgia's governor, Brian Kemp, earlier in the day and pressuring him to convince state legislators to convene to overturn the will of Georgia voters. Obviously, again, this is not based in fact. The election was clean. You guys did a number of recounts to make sure it was clean. What is your message to your fellow Trump supporters in Georgia? Is Joe Biden the president-elect, and was it a clean and fair election?
Yeah, first and foremost, Jake, you and I have talked about this. I voted for President Trump. I campaigned for him, and unfortunately, he did not win the state of Georgia. If I had a chance to spend 5 minutes with every single person in Georgia that doubted the election results, I think I'd be able to win their hearts over, show them the facts and figures, separate fact from fiction. But certainly, I don't have that opportunity. On January 20th, Joe Biden's going to be sworn in as the 46th president, and the Constitution is still in place. This is still America. I can disagree vehemently with, what I think are bad ideas, raising taxes on small businesses or increased regulations on small businesses or defunding or lowering the resources for police. I still have that opportunity. All Republicans still have that opportunity. As the lieutenant governor and as a Georgian, I'm proud that we're able to look up after 3 recounts and watch and be able to see that this election was fair. Was it perfect? Absolutely not. I don't know if any election was perfect in the history of this country, but certainly it's only been nominal changes since we've had 3 recounts.
And it's worse than lack of confidence in the election. Some Georgia officials, including a voting machine technician and the Secretary of State, they've been getting death threats since the election. I want you to take a listen to top Georgia elections official Gabriel Sterling a few days ago.
Someone's going to get hurt, someone's going to get shot, someone's going to get killed. And it's not right. It has all gone too far.
Now, he called on President Trump to stop it, to stop spreading the lies, but President Trump directly responded to him by tweeting more lies about the election, including attacks against the Secretary of State, who he called an enemy of the people. This is obviously not only just a fellow conservative Republican in Georgia, but your friend. At a certain point, does this disgust you?
Oh, absolutely, it disgusts me. I mean, we've all of us in this position have got increased security around us and our families, and it's not American. It's not what democracy is all about, but it's reality right now.
Speaking of healthcare, CDC guidelines say to avoid crowds, to social distance, to wear masks. Most people at the president's rally yesterday did not appear to be abiding by any of those protocols. Do you have just health concerns about the president holding a large rally in your state, as he did last night, in the middle of the pandemic getting even worse?
Well, certainly there's an ongoing crisis here with the pandemic. Certainly we continue to watch the numbers here in Georgia. I want to thank Governor Kemp personally for his attention to detail the last 9 months. This has been a very tough time for us in Georgia on a number of fronts, but Brian Kemp has continued to balance lives and livelihoods in a responsible manner. Certainly proud of his efforts, and certainly glad to be able to go to work with him every day and tackle these challenges we've got in front of us.
President-elect Biden told me in an interview on Thursday that on Inauguration Day, I believe he said, he was going to ask the American people for 100 days of wearing a mask to bring down the spread. Do you think that's a good idea? Will you encourage people to follow it?
Well, I certainly wear my mask. Our family does. I think it's absolutely a great step in the right direction. Mandating it in every single nook and cranny maybe doesn't fit, reality, but certainly I would encourage folks to wear their masks everywhere they go, and especially when they're in any sort of crowds. Look, we've got some tough times in front of us. We're watching infection rates climb based on a number of variables, right? The time of year, just the cycle of a virus, and certainly we've got a vaccine on the way. But that's not a magic bullet day one. We've got a process to go through and certainly want to be as responsible as we can so that folks can go to work and provide for their families and also be safe.
Lieutenant Governor Duncan, thanks again for joining us today. Always good to have you on the show.
Meredith standing by live at the White House with more. Mark, Rudy Giuliani is a formidable presence. I first started covering him in 1982 when he was the mob-busting U.S. attorney here in New York. He cut crime as New York City mayor 2 terms, changed the culture of this city, guided New York through 9/11. He has put his heart and soul and to everything he does and to his current mission. And he was even on with Maria Bartiromo this morning, despite this diagnosis of coronavirus. What is the reaction right now at the White House?
Eric, good afternoon. Well, I'm sure the president also sending his well wishes to Rudy Giuliani, somebody that not only people in New York know, but is known nationwide as a hero after 9/11. And of course, most lately as the president's strongest defender when it comes to the election legal challenges. The president broke the news less than an hour ago on where else but Twitter. This is what the president had to say. He said, quote, Rudy Giuliani, by far the greatest mayor in the history of New York City and who has been working tirelessly exposing the most corrupt election in the history of the U.S., has tested positive for the China virus. Get better soon, Rudy. We will carry on. As I mentioned, Giuliani has been one of, if not the most loyal defenders of President Trump. He supported President Trump for years, endorsing him back in April of 2016. He's a mainstay on cable news, as Eric mentioned, also making an appearance on Fox News earlier today. No indication then that he had known he was tested positive. He certainly didn't say anything about this diagnosis. We have not gotten an update on his exact condition, how he's feeling. We've reached out to him, waiting to hear back on that. But the president in his own tweet offering his well wishes. But Giuliani has also faced some criticism, as you see right there outside these state capitals, speaking to a number of people. He was in Georgia, he was in Michigan this past week without wearing a mask. There were a lot of people that would crowd him when he would go into those events. I was at the one in Michigan. Huge swarm of people that would be out there. But the former New York City mayor, the latest news there, testing positive for coronavirus.